Okay, for this video, I'm going to show you a simple way to tie an egg pattern. There are many different ways and many different materials to tie an egg, but what we're going to be doing today is what I found to be just very simple, very easy. So I'm really only going to be using 3 materials, including the hook. I've got just a curved hook. You'll hear this as like a Czech Nymph hook or a curved hook. It's just something with a little bit of a bend to it. I've got some thicker thread. I like using red just because I like putting a hot spot in. You'll see that here in a moment. But this is a 210 denier. You may familiar with streamer thread or whatever, just something thicker because we're going to be putting some pressure. And we also have this little contraption I've made, but this is McFly Foam. I've tried egg yarn. Ecstasy's really great. That's a slightly different way to tie where you actually wrap around. But this McFly Foam, it's a little bit stretchy. And I find that it's very effective for tying good round eggs very quickly. And then we have a pen cap. And I'll show you how I load this and how I created this here in just a minute. But what this is going to allow me to do is be able to create my eggs very quickly and make them very round and very symmetrical. All right, so let's get into it. What we're going to do first is we're going to put on our thread base. Now you notice I'm not starting at the eye of the hook. I'm starting in the middle. And I'm not going to put a ton of thread on. Just a couple of wraps, just enough where that thread's going to hold. I'll go ahead and I'll cut off my tag end of my thread. And then I'm going to make sure that my thread is in the center. At that point, I'm going to take my McFly Foam. If you notice, I've got red and orange. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it where the red's on top and the orange is on the bottom. And actually, if you look at it, I've got, 3 strands of orange, 1 strand of red. I'll show you the pack here after I tie this. So I've got maybe 1/8 of an inch or so sticking out. And I'm just going to stick that right on top of where I want to put my thread pattern, or my thread ties. So I'm going to do 1 wrap, 2 wraps. You notice I didn't crank down yet. I just put them over where I wanted, and now I'm going to start cranking down. And again, this is tougher thread, so I can put some tension. So I've got a good amount of tension on. Now I'm going to come behind, put it around once, put it around twice, and that's all I want to do from the front or the back. And then I'm going to put it twice up front, and I'm going to whip finish. That's it. So when I use my whip finish tool, you'll notice I'm coming in kind of underneath and sideways. That's just to get that thread underneath that egg. You don't have to do that. I just like the way that it makes a cleaner look. So cut my thread off, make sure I don't have anything trapped underneath. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to hold it where I have my thread wraps down. And I'm going to come out twice the length of where I actually want to be, because that makes this ready for the next egg. So I'm going about 1/8 of an inch, right? So I'm going to cut right in the center, and I'm going to do a straight cut. No curve or nothing. Just straight cut. This is ready for the next egg. And then I can take this and just kind of fluff it around. If you really, you get a little pull, you can always clean it up. But if you notice, I really don't need to shape this egg. This created a very nice round egg. Plenty of room for the hook gap. Nice red spot. And the rest of it orange. And complete coverage. That's all there is to it. That egg is done. And we are ready to throw on the next hook. These are barbless hooks, so I don't need to crush the barbs. I can throw it on. I'm going to show you again. This time I'm going to do it a little bit faster, but just so that you see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put my thread, center of the hook, a couple thread wraps. Go ahead and I'm going to cut off my tag end. Make sure my thread's right in the center. Take my McFly Foam pen cap, set it up. Now if you notice, on this fly we had this nice little red dot, nice little hot spot, blood dot, egg yolk, whatever you want to call it. I'm making sure that that distinct color is at the top, not at the bottom. You want it at the top so that when it folds together, it makes a single dot. So I have it at the top. I'm going to put 2 wraps, not super tight, and I'm going to kind of hold it, pull it down tighter. I'm going to put 2 wraps behind. 1, 2 wraps up front. Whip finish. Just a 3-turn whip. Pull that nice and tight. Let's get my thread out of there. Hold my McFly Foam. Pull it back about twice the length I want. Go ahead and cut it. That's ready for my next fly. And just kind of smooth it out. And this time I don't need to do any trimming. You also notice there was 0 waste. So this McFly Foam is going to go a long way because I'm not having to trim it every time for every egg. And you can see how very quickly you can crank out a bunch of flies. All right, so let's talk about how I loaded this and how I created this. I'm going to actually go ahead and undo it. And you'll notice that I've got a couple different strands. We'll get to this in a moment. But let's look at the pen cap. See, there's a hole? That hole I kind of measured out as being tight enough for about 4 or 5 strands of McFly Foam or egg yarn. And that's it. It's not obviously the same diameter as this. It's much smaller. But it was just trial and error. Not entirely certain the width of it. I think it's like 5/16 or something with a drill bit. And that's actually what I did, is I used a drill bit just to widen this out. I had to initially use a sharp pair of scissors. I did not use my fly tying scissors. I used big scissors to cut the end, and then I used the drill bit to smooth it out. I also made sure that I filed it with a set of like metal files to make sure that I pulled all of the rough edges out because I don't want it to snag on the foam. And that's all there was to it. So then what I want to do to load it is I'm going to use a bobbin threader. This is not a wire one, just a cheap plastic one. But I'm going to wrap it around my McFly Foam, just put it through the loop, and insert it through the pen cap. So now it's ready to pull. Make sure you have it around all of it, and just pull it through. You notice it takes a little bit of tension to get that to come through, but eventually it will. And you may have to adjust this, and you may find that you can't get it exactly where you want, or square or flush. So this is where you get your initial waste. I just kind of pull a little bit through, and then I make that first cut, and now I'm ready to tie my fly. So the McFly Foam I used is, I just bought a single package, and this is the clown color package. So you notice it has the red, it has my orange, it has a bunch of, like 2 different shades of pink, some yellow, kind of an off-white. I got this because this is going to allow me to mix and match the colors as I want, and I can load them in the color patterns that I would prefer, and I can make multiple pen caps if I want. This is just, I think, a great value because I don't need that many flies. And you can also see that, right, I've got the 2 flies I just cranked out and a little bit of waste from when I loaded it in. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste anything. So this is going to make a lot of egg flies. So you can imagine how many egg flies I can get out of a single package. So I think if you're going to get the McFly Foam, get the clown package. You can save a lot of money, and you can have a lot of fun with the variation. But that's it. That's all there is to it. So thank you very much, and hopefully you learn something, and you can practice and get some eggs that come out nice and round, and you can have some fun with the colors.